Alright, looks like the camera's all nice and messed up this morning already. No big deal. I had it moved out of the way yesterday. Alright, so first thing first, real quick. We're gonna knock this varnish out. Just on the edge of these bases I finished. Now the actual miniatures aren't finished, but we started the basing yesterday, so we're gonna finish it up today. You can see, right, pretty much have the bases completed. Just gonna end up painting the rim with this brush on matte varnish, just to make sure 100% that they can get a lot of good gameplay out of these bases, not worry about messing them up, chipping, anything like that. So going pretty heavy on the edges. Once this one's dry, we're going to hit it with snow, so we'll do that at some point. I did leave one, so the tiger, which yesterday, of course, at the end of the stream, we had a slight catastrophe with. So, left that one to complete today. At least the basing completely. So you'll be able to see the whole process there. So we're just going to be finishing up these. And then I'll be shipping them off to the client. The client also picked up a commission for Anachrony, so that'll be cool. And then they also have me painting the expansion ships as well. Alright, so we just need them to dry. Let them chill out. We're gonna check this out real quick to see how dry it is. It looks like it's almost there. You can see I applied that texture. Alright, let's do the snow. Right. Alright, so it'll be good for the snow on him. Just using the Games Workshop Valhalla and Blizzard for that. And I really like using that too because you can like sculpt with it. It'll dry the exact way that you place it, so... okay. Alright, so we're just letting those bases, the rims of those bases dry really quick. This one I did at like 7 a.m. Not 7 a.m., I did it like an hour ago, and it's still a little bit wet in the middle. Let me see just how wet it is. It's still wet, so we can't really wash that one. So why don't we work on the bird here. Do the highlights on it. Just doing these individual feathers. They are pretty much the exact width of the loaded brush, so it's not like I'm having to work too hard. Just keeping the brush steady. Trying to keep the coverage nice and even as well. Easier said than done, for the most part. Trying to get my finger on there correctly. There we go. Hope everybody's having a good morning out there so far. And I hope my camera looks okay. I think it does, right? Yeah. Just taking our time here on the feathers. Nothing crazy. There's not a lot of like extra detail that goes into the bird, but if you do the feathers, it looks great. So We're going to use a darker brown on the outer feathers. That's why we did 2 washes on it. There we go. I mean, honestly, it doesn't look terrible on its own without a second color on there, but we will be doing a second color. The rest of the bird's also going to be that darker color. So really, the only highlight is the top feathers. So and I'm going to fade out this back area. That's that. All right, let's do the side. We were letting that varnish dry down there, but it's done now. Pretty much done. Underside of the bird. Just the edges here. It's pretty weird angle, I know, but just enough to give it the illusion of the highlight on the bottom. We'll probably end up washing that again too anyway. Just to connect the fronts. And then dry brush it out. Actually, I think I might just totally dry brush that. Hold on. Makes a little bit more sense to me. At least for the bottom, then that way we can wash it out again. There we go. Shouldn't be touching the base yet, damn it. Well, messed up the front of that base, at least where its varnish is. So we will go back and fix that. But you can see I'm just dry brushing this area. And then I can go back in with ink to hit those little recesses. Because this side people won't really see because they'll be checking out her. This side they may actually check out, so. Then let me actually, real quick, only because I know it's going to bother me. Fix the front of this. I know I'm doing this off of camera, but it's because of the angle that I need to hit. I want to make sure I'm getting good coverage on it. Then we'll hit it with that varnish again. Okay. So we're going to put her down, let her chill. Luckily, we can use that same brown for the monkey, so we're just going to go over and highlight the monkey. We can also do pinpoint highlights on the boar. There are all kinds of options with this brown since we used it 3 times. So we'll do the boar. So we hit the ears and the nose. Let's see. Little monkey doesn't have a lot of detail, so I'm just trying to hit some of those implied highlight areas. At least from where the shading is that we put on it. And then for the face, to pick it out, we're actually going to go in with a gray. There we go. Pretty simple. Gonna mix a little bit of a pinker highlight for the boar using a skin tone and then that same brown we just used, so that way the tones match up. Looks good to me. I have got to stop touching the front of these bases. This is bad. Pretty sure I'm gonna have to reapply the paint since I just messed that up, being impatient. Alright, we're gonna let him chill out so I can repair the front of that base. Shoulder pain? No, I do not. I think it just depends on how you're sitting. I also have a really nice chair that I use. But I used to do a bunch of computer work as well and development, so like sitting at a desk all day, pretty typical, so I just bought a really nice chair. If anything, my upper back hurts towards the end of the day. But I usually take a break every hour, stand up, walk around, stretch. Alright, so it looks like we were able to fix that pretty well. It's still a little bit tacky, so we're going to wait. See. We'll do the monkey's face real quick. This is really what the focus is on this little animal, at least. What? There's a fruit fly in here all of a sudden. It's crazy. It got cold outside and all the bugs like did everything they could to get inside. I had a yellow jacket come through a window yesterday. It was like 40 degrees outside. So we're just doing the highlight areas with this gray. It's gonna pick the face out for the monkey. There we go. And on these Scythe miniatures, there's not a lot of deep details, so you really just have to be kind of smart about the way that you're doing your highlight colors to imply more detail than there really is. Really, we're just going kind of slow so that the matte varnish there can dry. Still a little not... Still a little kind of sticky. This guy's good to go. Yep. But we don't have to do anything to him right now. The snow texture's drying on this guy pretty well. Then we can go in, after that's dry, finish out all the rest of his details and the bison. Really, the only animal that's pretty much done is this boar right here. So, and I really do need to hit that boar with a brush on. Actually, I think we'll do that right now on the boar. Thank you. They are not complete yet. They might get close. Pretty much all of them should be very, very close to completion by the time we're done with this stream. Then the afternoon stream, probably the is when we'll knock out the tiger, because that takes a while. So I'm just going to do a clear coat all over this pig to kill the shininess, because I know that the spray varnish that I use isn't going to completely remove it, and I want it to be perfectly as flat as I can get it. So we're just going to throw the clear coat on and then put this guy to the side for a while it dries. But that should do it. Put him down. Really, none of the other ones need that. The spray varnish should take care of what we need, but I guess we could wash the bottom of that. Really, doing the bases then is kind of a gamble. Yeah, no, we'll do the wash because she needs to be washed as well, so we'll do that. So I'm going to use this Umber wash here. That's all we have to do for that. And then we're going to wash all of the metallics on her. At least all these bronze or copper areas, the hammered copper color. We can go darker with this if we need to, but for now I think this will be alright. Alright, so that's just got to dry. Then we can go back in and do the highlights on it. Nice and easy. Let's check and see. I'm sure this is drying already. Yeah, it is. It's not as pronounced as I would like on this one, so we're going to go back in. There we go. This side looks fine. Alright, let's do the face on the bison here. Still pretty tacky on that, but should be okay. Actually, we'll keep that out. Just deciding what brown to use. This should be pretty subtle. Then we'll use the leather brown on the actual horns. I want that to be subtle because then the rest of the hair will be highlighted up a little bit brighter than the face. So that'll be the only difference there. And whenever we do that, the contrast will pick up on the face, so it won't be as subtle as it is now, but it'll look really nice. Alright, so let me get this, where's that leather brown? Am I crazy? Oh, it's right here. Yeah, I've done a lot of them. Zombicide, Black Plague, Massive Darkness. I collect Dark Age miniatures as well, and that's owned by Simon now. But yeah, I've done a lot of Cool Mean You're Not games. Definitely cool sculpts, you know. Not the best miniatures in the world, but not the worst. You know, they still use soft plastic like most board games. Of course, their Dark Age stuff is metal and resin, so it's way better. I also invested heavily into Wrath of Kings, but it never took off in this area, so cannibalized most of those miniatures for parts and other games. So I'll have to do multiple layers, but it should dry really fast, so. Normally I hold everything by the base, but I'm afraid to touch them right now, so having to be a little weird with it. Oh yeah, I guess I did. I've done Blood Rage as well. That's Cool Mean You're Not. I can't remember if Arcadia Quest is Cool Mean You're Not, but I've done that too. I've done a lot of their games. Alright, we'll let him dry. See if there's anyone else that would make sense to use those colors on. Not really. See if this would look good. Nah, it's too similar. Won't even start that. Alright, so I'm gonna mix these two real quick. Let's do some point highlights. Wow, that's so subtle. There we go. Alright, I'm happy with that. So his face is done, we just have to do all of its fur. Nothing too insane. Alright, let's work on the bear. Use a different brown for that. The bear I didn't do the base on, or I did do the base, but I didn't do the rim yet because it's white. And painting white is slightly a nightmare, so didn't even begin that process. So we're going to go with almost full paint coverage on the face itself. Then brushstroke hair on the rest. These miniatures have unfortunate mold lines, but the plastic they use is so soft. If I were to cut those mold lines off, it would complete. If I was going to file the mold lines off, I would lose pretty much all detail in the fur. And if I was going to cut them off, I would cut all the fur detail off as well. So kind of a lose-lose situation on some of the sculpts in this game, but don't really think the creator of the game meant them to ever be painted, but he does like my paint jobs. Cool enough. He commented on a couple, saying that he loved the way they looked, so that's always a nice morale booster. And I know the client loved to hear it too, since they all love this game. So all I'm doing are thin brush strokes on areas that I want to imply where highlights would be. And I'm going to go in one more time with another color. We'll mix it in with this darker brown. That way that it'll pop a little bit more. I do not know what my neighbors are doing, but they're slamming into the wall over and over and over. It's pretty early in the morning for the chair throwing Olympics, so I don't know what the deal is. And it's a weird time of the month to be moving, so I don't know. Alright, so that's really subtle. On camera, it probably doesn't look like much. That's fine. But so we're going to mix this color with that same leather that we already have on the palette. Since that color is nowhere on this bear, it should give us a nice little highlight contrast situation. Hope everybody's having a good day today. Let me figure out where my altering my lighting situation here. There we go. Alright, so let's see how this color treats us for highlights. It looks really subtle, so I don't know how it's going to dry. Maybe if I can mix in a little bit lighter. Because that just looks so subtle. I do want it to be noticeable. So there we go, that's better. That's a better view, so I don't know though. Looks like we're gonna have to mix something else in there. So obviously mixing way too much of this Monster Brown, but that's the only way to get the right color. It's okay. There we go. So that's what we're looking for here. Something a little less obvious. And we can do multiple coats on this too, since it is thinned out. Alright, I think that'll work. This color, as it dries, the one that I mixed it with, is usually kind of a little bit shiny, so it's kind of hard to see right now what's going on, but once I put that clear coat on there, it'll chill out. Just doing the brush strokes here in the direction of the fur. Anytime you see me wiping the brush off on the thumb, I'm just trying to get a fine point so that while I'm working I can do those directional lines. Normally I load the brush up, so for stuff like this I want to make sure I have a fine point. Okay, I think that's good for that. So you can see the boars had time to dry quite a bit. I don't really like the the exposure I'm getting on the camera today. I don't really know what the deal is, but not too bad. As I throw it down onto the table. Alright, let me switch back over here to this camera. Okay, so plan of attack here. So I have, that actually didn't look too bad. So I'm just looking at what details I have left to do. So we can probably finish the wolf next. That'll be easy. So we'll finish the wolf because that gray will be used to do like one of the berets and some of the details on this guy right here with the bison. Then we'll be able to go in like his boots right there. Then we'll finish out with like edge lining with some washes. Her washes turned out nice and subtle on her metal. So yeah, that's what we'll do. Been streaming for an hour, so I'm going to take a break. I will be back. You don't have to hang out if you don't want to. But either way, I will see you in a few. So what I'm doing right now on the wolf, sort of like a wet highlight, or like a wet dry brush, I should say. And what that allows me to do is break up the black while still creating the obvious illusion that this thing is a black wolf. The gray highlight is kind of like a blue tone rather than black. Or gray, like mixing it with white. I'm using the uniform gray from Army Painter, so it's a little blue. But yeah, for the wolf's highlights, I like to keep it really subtle. The only reason I'm not touching the base a bunch is because that matte varnish is still drying on it. It's taking it a lot of time this morning because it's really dry in my house. So alright, let's see how we're looking. Pretty good. So now I'm going to go in with kind of more pointed highlights. That looks pretty similar to what we've already done, so I'm going to mix in more. Compare it right here. Alright, that's good. And I don't even know really if you can even see what's happening on the camera just because this stuff is so subtle. And it's also on black, which is obviously not the easiest color to see on camera. So you may or may not see anything. But it is there, I promise. We're just following the same method that we did on the bear. Just using brush strokes to simulate the fur. And since the highlight is going to be so subtle, your eye will kind of do the work for you whenever you look at the miniature. So you don't have to be precise. And then down towards the base of the paws. Kind of like its forearm area, paw area, I don't know. That gets the lightest color because the hair is going to be the shortest, so there's like less shadow created by the long fur on the rest of its body, so that's kind of why I paint it that way. Whenever I hit this with the clear coat, the matte varnish and everything, it'll be way more obvious the highlights that we did. But until then, it's just kind of like, well, gotta take my word for it. But it's there. Alright, so he is finished. Wolf. And I can go back into if I need to with another shade or whatever. So now we're going to take this gray and do this guy's legs. So that I can go back in and ink it. I'm going to do his boots the same gray, but we're going to ink them brown. Two birds, one stone. I'm going to paint this back little bedroll that he has, and then we're going to ink that a green, and it should come out dark green. Alright, so... yeah, I forgot we're going to do his legs, that same color. What's up, Ian? Now we're not going to be doing a green wash on these boots. We're just going to do black. Black or brown? Probably black? Probably? I don't know. Trying to see what... oh yeah, I need to do that area. That's fine. Pretty much anywhere that I can see that I've left something accidentally, we're just planning out painting the rest of it based upon the colors that we have out. On a tabletop commission like that, it's totally fine. You know, if you look at a company like Blue Table Painting that's notorious for ripping people off, I mean, the videos out there from Blue Table, like people spending $5,000 on a commission, and you know, I don't know, they're pretty shady. So they take 65% of the job up front, and then by sending them your miniatures, you agree that if you don't like what's happened and you refuse to pay, you don't like what they've done or whatever, then they keep whatever you've sent them. So since they charge so much, they're making about 4 to 5 times profit on the actual material cost of whatever you have them paint for you. But some of the stuff I found interesting, like one guy that paid $5,000, he showed some people the actual quality that he received, and on a miniature that looked like trash, that only had 3 colors, he was being charged $17. Now this guy's rich as well, by the way, so he wasn't complaining about that. Like, he has so many Warhammer armies, it doesn't matter. But you know, he's paying $17 per miniature for a basic guy and a unit of 20. But then he's paying, I think it was like $42 a miniature for what they call a level 6, and you literally couldn't tell the difference. It's just absolutely amazing, the details they wouldn't paint. So whenever I'm doing a tabletop quality commission, and I know that there are companies out there that have like 10 employees painting for them and everything, and they're just ripping people off and cutting corners, I make sure not to do that. There are other painting services too, but Blue Table at least is one that like everybody seems to know about, since the owner, and it's so funny too, because if you actually know what they do to their clients, like they don't ask you questions, they don't if you send a question to them, you never talk to the person that's painting your army. You talk to a representative that then replies back to you, we talked to your painter and they said, right? They only show you pictures of things once they're complete. They don't actually... They give you like some progress updates, but no real pictures, because they understand that like if you're not happy, that just throws off their process. If they're late, which from what I understand is all the time, if they're late on a deadline, they give you a 2.5% discount, or a refund, I should say, on whatever it is. So I don't know. I mean, everything that I've seen, companies like that are pretty much a scam. You know, you have no control over what's happening. But then there are other painting, other commission people that are not big scams that are like taking lots off of eBay. The other thing about Blue Table 2, right? When they first came out, I don't think they were as scammy. I think it was pretty legitimate. Then it just got too big too fast, and the guy got greedy. But so what they do is they'll buy lots of miniatures off of eBay, and they just like have them ready to go and waiting. So let's say one of the things they advertise is like, if you play Warhammer, you're like, okay, so I want 3 units of Night Goblins, and I only have 2, so I need you to buy. Talking to Blue Table, they'll have them buy a unit of Night Goblins. Well, what Blue Table will do is buy them off of eBay and charge you the full price. So you're buying used miniatures from the get-go, and they're already ripping you off. And there are lots of people that have proved that that's what they're doing. So it's just kind of interesting to see the difference of how these businesses operate. But if it's just a one-man show, like there's so many commission painters that are out there that are really awesome and give good prices. But they just don't have the same amount of exposure. But I think the Blue Table company is pretty much a meme at this point. Like, at least in the wargame community, everybody knows not to deal with them at all. And the people that do deal with them, I guess they just don't know any better, but... Alright, so we got her... Actually, I need to get this part. See, we'll do this in the gray too. Essentially, we're just doing different gray tones on the rest of the details on these guys, and then we'll ink them so that they'll have shading and all of that. They'll be different colors. And it's an easy way to finish up detail. Well, Steve, like I was saying, they just have such a bad... So here's the deal, right? If a company is world class, like they've put out there before, why on earth would you have comments disabled on every single one of your videos on YouTube? So that's kind of the litmus test. If they're such a hot company, why do they disable comments on every single thing they upload? Like that should be your 911 indicator just from the get-go. But yeah, then they do other stuff as well. Like it's just so absurd. They you can't file it. Like there's no refund process. If you actually read, obviously the owner of the company was business savvy when he put together his like terms and conditions and all that you have to sign away on, and some of it too you don't need a signature. Like they just say when you send us your stuff you're consenting to these terms and agreements or conditions or whatever. And so a lot of people that end up not paying or they don't pay on time, like they punish their clients, which is hilarious. And so all of a sudden you'll see on the Blue Table website they're like, oh yeah, we have this sweet painted army we just finished. It's ready to go. Come buy it, whatever. And you see them advertising it, and it turns out that a lot of those armies that they're painting, not a lot, but a percentage, I would say probably a third, are projects that they're projects that people didn't like or they started a claim with, and Blue Table was like, well, if you're not going to pay, we're just going to take your stuff, right? Like that's what you agreed to. So then they just immediately resell it for 100% profit minus, whatever their painters put into it. Then there's also the issue of how they actually paint stuff. So not only is the owner extremely cheap and rips people off, obviously, and I really don't have a problem saying this stuff because you can literally Google Blue Table painting scam and you will get like 100 results and testimonials of nightmarish stories from their clients of things that have gone terribly wrong. But uh, I mean, the way that they actually paint the stuff until you get to like level 6, which is like between $40 and $100 a miniature, which is hilarious. Because that's, I mean, they're suggesting, I mean, I don't know, beyond what you're actually getting for that price. What they do is they'll paint a miniature a base color. So for stuff like this, like they would never, you would have to spend at least $30 to get this one miniature painted because they can't do their method on it really cheap. So what they do is they spray it a base color, then they dry brush the entire thing with white or light gray or whatever it is. So they literally paint it one color and then just dry brush the shit out of it. And then they water down the paints insanely thin, super thin paints, and then they glaze it over the dry brushing, and that's how they do the majority of their lower level commission stuff. So it's like not only are they overcharging you for no real definition or detail, they don't paint details, they don't break up colors. Like if you're spending for $17 a miniature, which is my heroic level commission, right? For $17, you're getting 3 colors, no details. It's literally insane. So, but I mean, hey, he's able to employ all kinds of people. You know, I mean, that's chill, whatever. But he also steals stuff from people. Like, there'll be commissions where someone's like, yeah, I requested that they magnetize these weapons, and then at the end of the commission, they only send 1 weapon, and they end up keeping the other 3 for themselves to use later. And then like the client will be like, hey, you didn't send me these parts, and they're like, oh, we don't know where they are, sorry. Like literally no refund. They'll offer you a credit towards another job, which is really funny that, you know, they'll lose your stuff, but that's the thing. I'd always wondered how they hadn't gotten sued yet, and it's because of everything that you agree to in their terms and conditions whenever you send them your miniatures. So, I mean, eventually someone could probably try and sue him, but I feel like the Blue Table guy would like definitely bend over and just be like, oh no, we'll fix this, sorry. But because I remember looking at their stuff way back in the day, being like, that's pretty interesting, it's a legitimate company, and then after reading up on it, it's like, no, it's not. Okay, anything but legit. Actually saw there's some Kickstarter starting up that also looks pretty scammy right now, but what it is, it's like Netflix for painted miniatures for role-playing games, and one of the commission companies they're using to paint the stuff that they're shipping to people is Blue Table, and I was like, well, I already know how shitty those are gonna look, so... Alright, the base is finally dry. Oh my god, it took us, what, 2 hours before they finally dried up? Alright, so we're going to start knocking out the feathers on this. Oh yeah, no, Blue Table's for sure, like, shark kind of style business. And that's the thing too, you would assume, so, and they don't do discounts, by the way. Like, you pay what you pay, even if you have them painting 1,000 miniatures, so... And like, every single other commission painter I know does discounts. Like, increasing discounts on the number that you're actually sending them. But so, like, the example, there's this 4-hour video on YouTube. It's broken into different parts of this guy that essentially paid $5,000 with Blue Table to have stuff painted, and they quoted, I think, 8 weeks for this huge army he sent in. So he quoted 8 weeks. He also like gave them extra money to purchase some things, and they didn't actually ever buy them. And after the 8 weeks, it took them 4 months to actually complete the job, and they would just like lie to him back and forth, saying like, "Oh yeah, your army's almost done. It'll be done in 2 days." All this stuff, and then the 2 days go by, and then 5 days go by, and he keeps sending in like, you can't even email him. You have to send them these requests on their website, like update progress requests or whatever. So he kept sending it in, and then finally he calls the business, and they're like, we can't find the guy that was painting your army. He took the stuff home with him, and he moved, and we can't find him. He moved over the weekend. So, like, I don't know what kind of business you're running, but I don't know why you would let an employee take something home that would ever be in the position to run off on the company with thousands of dollars worth of product. And then a couple days later, they were like, "Oh, okay, we found the guy, but turns out your army isn't almost complete. It's about halfway done, and this is like week 12, so it's already over the limit." And they were like, "But we're going to get it done in 2 days." And sure enough, they got it done in 2 days, and it looked really, really bad. So, but then, the silver lining to that story with that guy, after Frontline Gaming out in San Francisco heard about what Blue Table did to him, they contacted him and they said that, hey, just keep sending us all your stuff and we'll repaint it. Or they're not repainting it. What they did was essentially take Blue Table's crappy base paint jobs that they gave him, and then they just like made it look better, so to speak. So he at least got something out of it. And then Frontline Gaming, which is a great company, I've used them to buy their mats. They make tabletop mats for war games, and their customer support's good. One time they accidentally sent me the wrong mat, and shipping back, of course, is like $20 or whatever. And I was like, "Yo, you sent me the wrong thing," and they were like, "Oh, okay, we're gonna send you the return label in the mail. We've already paid for it." All this stuff. So like, they're a great company to deal with in the first place. And then they do commissions on top, so it was a smooth move by them to be like, you know what? We're going to go ahead and take care of you. So they got good publicity out of that. And he got his army fixed, so there you go. And then, of course, like, Blue Table Painting isn't a Better Business Bureau member or nothing like that. So you can't complain to anybody. Can't do anything. But, so, yesterday, I got another commission for the game Anachrony, so that'll be happening. That'll be pretty nice. I need to get some more commissions, though, this month, for sure. Hopefully I can grab a couple with the discounts. I'm running through the 20th. These feathers, these wings are like, since the wing bends so much, which obviously is realistic, so cool, but it's hard to hold it in one position and do them all. There we go. I just wanted to do really subtle highlights on them, nothing crazy. But lighter in the front, darker in the back. was a little bit too much down there. Let's see if I can wash it off. There we go. Alright, so that's cool. So that bird is finished. Guess I'll do the back end here of this one. Go. And on this side, don't have to do as much because you can't really see it the same. Just doing a little bit of a wet brush on there. There we go. Alright, so that bird is complete. She has a little bit more detail on there to finish, but that's all good. So they are all at about, other than the tiger, 80%, 80+% completed. Well, and what's funny too is their website's actually pretty bad. The website's looked that way since about 2012. So, I mean, it may. I don't know. I don't think it looks professional, but that's what I like outside of commission painting and everything. That's what I do is web design and UX work. So for me, it's like I'm a little bit more critical than your average Joe. Morning, Eric. But if you look like. I mean, all you see on there are a bunch. It's like a used car lot of, I don't even know, used car lot of just like really terribly put together used miniatures. Okay, so let's do some inking. Let's do the green real quick, since I just thought of where I need to put the green so I don't forget it again. This guy had one small spot that we had missed. So we'll do that. Right there. That's cool. And then the bedroll. There we go. I'm trying to think of anybody. Probably not her. That's pretty much it there. For the greens anyway. So now I'm going to break out. We're going to mix this black ink with another ink. How are you doing today, Eric? Hopefully good. Oh yeah, look at that. That's good. Finishing up this commission here. I'm going in with this brown colored wash onto the black so that there's a slight tone. in some of these darker areas. Just a little bit of a color difference from that bluish gray. There we go. Gonna ink her legs. And then I'll go through after this ink dries with a really brown ink on the boots. So it's like we're doing the shadow first, the color second. Remember, whenever you're doing washes, you can always go darker, but you can't really go the other direction. Working with washes is kind of like cutting hair and getting a haircut. You can always go shorter. I'm gonna add some more wash to this real quick. It's a little bit too shiny. Just making use of the rest of this ink I already have out. There we go. Inking her fur cap here. I think she does have blonde hair, so I can actually go in and do that real quick. Well, actually, no, I can't, because we just put ink right next to it, but when that dries, we can knock it out real quick. And then the only highlight on this is just a dry brush. Real simple. Go. So they are rapidly becoming finished here. Oh, we do need to do the highlights on the bison, so could work on that. Morning, Cassidy. All right. So let me think about a brown that I haven't really used that we could use. I don't like using too many of the same color, but it does happen occasionally. So I think we're gonna mix something here on our own. Of course, we'll have to we'll have to mix too much of it, but it's all right. Coverage doesn't look as good as I'd like it, but let's see. So it's super thin, but it might work for us, so let me see here. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's too thin. So, hold on. We're gonna have to get a little bit clever here. Yeah, I thought I just... that was a bit of a mistake, but we're painting over the boots anyway. Alright. So I'm gonna have to add a more pigmented brown back into it real quick, because there's a lot of that mixing medium in there. That's way better. Okay. Alright, so we're just finishing up these highlights on the bison. Or the yak, I don't know. Whatever this big hairy thing is. And just simulating the actual hair by picking out some of the hair that's sculpted on here and then grouping together the brush strokes wherever there would be obviously a more concentrated highlight. Simple little tricks. Like I've said before during this commission and the last one that I did with the Scythe miniatures, they're not really the most detailed models at all. I don't think the creator of the game figured they'd be painted. Now the mechs are really, really awesome to paint. They have a ton of detail, but these, I don't know, man. Like, I have a feeling they used a different sculptor for the robots and then these miniatures. So I think that looks great. Whenever I actually take photos, you'll be able to see it more. But this brown that we mixed up for it seems to be a perfect highlight color. Sometimes it's hard to guess how it'll look until it's dry. And this looks good, especially since I didn't test it first. We just started going to town. So, all of the animals now are pretty much complete. Except the tiger. Tiger's going to be done on the afternoon stream. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. So really I'm just trying to finish up everything I can on these, and then this afternoon will be the tiger, finishing it all up, and then I will take photos and it will be shipped off back to the client, who is happy already. I talked to him yesterday. Alright. Finished. So we are going to, let's see what we should do next. So what does this guy have left? He has boots. Oh, right. So we need to do the dark brown wash. Or the heavier wash, I should say. Where's my sepia? Okay. I don't know why I am, keep trying to figure out what I ate. I'm having some indigestion here. Alright. Applying the sepia wash really heavy. Nice and easy there. Then I'm applying the sepia to the base of these little tufts of grass, so they blend into the base a little bit more. There we go. At least the white ones, the darker ones look pretty good. Wings turned out pretty good on that. You can see I'm just applying this to all the remaining area. Reason for that being I can actually do the highlights on these objects with separate colors, and the sepia will just be the unifying tone underneath. That's why we also did all of it in gray, so it'll pick up those tones, save us some time. Right now we're just kind of waiting on a couple things to dry, unfortunately. Name of the game sometimes. Just trying to see what I'm may or may not be missing on this guy. Other than his glove, obviously, but we can actually do the glove right now. All right, the blonde hair on that, the tiger chick. Can do that. So we can do that. So I'm going to use that same golden color that we always use for blonde hair. Since that wash we did on her little fur hat's finished drying, we can just knock this out real quick. May take a coat or two. Not a big deal if it does. There's a hair right there. Sides of her face real quick. Because her hair does peek out there. And this basing material is dry, so we'll go ahead and do the wash on it as well. Since we had a slight fiasco with it yesterday. That is the wrong wash. Where is the correct one? Here it is. What's nice about this, I can just squeeze it. It'll remix it all in there for me. So this you just apply super heavy. And it will dry less saturated than this. So we just gotta let that dry as well. Alright, so we've been going 2 hours here. So what I will do is do a couple more touches on some of these. I actually think I'm going to go hit them all with the matte sealer that I use. And then I'll be back this afternoon at 2 to knock out that tiger, and we'll be completely finished with this commission. So thanks for hanging out again this morning. Really not a lot of action on these guys, but the commission's coming to a close. So I will see you guys again this afternoon. Thanks for hanging out. See you later.